The contents of this interview, or from Awake and Empowered Expo LLC from Ethan Fox and Flower of Life Center for Human Evolution, is for informational purposes only and does not necessarily reflect the viewpoints held by these organizations or individuals. Always consult with your doctor or health professional before making any changes to your diet, lifestyle, or prescription drug use. Please understand that you assume all responsibility and risk for the use or misuse of this information.
Okay, so I am hearing the Pleiadian Ninth Dimensional Collective, and they are pleased to begin with a message for those who have assembled. As there are many who have joined in this collective energy, we wish that you understand your frequency is receiving adjustments in this transmission, and those frequency adjustments are based on not only the universal timeline that we are accessing together as we come into a common space of energy, but also there is a telepathic exchange in which the ninth dimensional timeline is being accessed by you in order to understand this information. So in this connection and in this adjustment, we wish for all of you to care for yourselves very particularly over the course of the next several days as you will be integrating many of these messages and energies. We are pleased to begin. As we come forward in this time, we are ones who are in direct support of the ascension timeline, not only within your planetary space, but also as the ascension timeline integrates with many other dimensional beings and consciousness. There is a basis for this ascension timeline that we wish to discuss today as it is applicable to you and applicable to all of us. In essence, there is a universal energy time grid. We wish to call it a time grid, although we know that human beings often take this concept of time and make it very physical. We want to explain the difference between the time grid as we have named it and the time that you access on your planetary being. As you have engaged a definition of time as linear, you have enabled your mental body to store a variety of memories and timelines and experiences in synchronistic order. And that has been important by you as you have needed to assimilate this way as third dimensional beings. The mental time blocks that you have been working with have been very singular in nature, meaning they have been very singularly focused on the timeline that you have been accessing. There have been, at times, splits of this timeline into new realities created by you. So we want to first explain how this has happened within your own awareness and describe where that is headed as you're connected to the ascension timeline we speak of. As you have been human and you have chosen to be human, you incarnated here with a structure, and that structure includes within it all of the information that you need to assimilate here in this density. This density in itself is directed at physical nature, and that physical nature holds the basis by which you can understand your reality. So when we talk about creating reality, you're always creating reality from your point of attraction or from the frequency that you hold. You have held frequency as human beings in the emotional body. We will step back and clarify that for a moment as well before we go forward. Many of you understand that manifestation is a direct connection of your energy body, and that energy body is connected to your emotions that are generated by the mental body. This has all been an ordering of your physical reality that you have chosen and that you have accepted through programs and imprints here in this reality to create. Your memory banks, or the mental body that has stored the memory of this physical reality, have held within it the ordering of events of your incarnation as you are placing your awareness on it in this moment. This is the key that we want you to understand. Your awareness is guiding the timeline by which you access information for. So as you are here in this consciousness and you have been raised to a ninth dimensional reality, you can remember and understand that you're expressing energy on many timelines simultaneously. And as physical beings, your density is the key to how your awareness works in your creation. This is why we want to remind you of the density that you hold in this physical reality and how it is the impetus for change. The universal time grid is quite different. The universal time grid in itself is receiving information from the timelines that you create. So it is a storage bank of sorts, and every time that you access through your energy body a creation of reality, access is assembled and granted through the universal time grid to receive that information, not only for you and for the human consciousness, but for the benefit of all dimensional realities. The word we want you to think of here is expansion. The reason we are all here existing in the universe is for the purpose of that expansion. And you were engaged through the beginning of a cellular structure that wished to expand as well. Think of the very physical body that you are holding yourself in as a soul. That physical body began from the expansion of one cellular structure that decided to create something new and beautiful within the universal reality. It is the same by which that creation happens on many dimensional levels. But the density that you hold is the impetus by which you have available information from the universal time grid, and the impetus by which you can recognize the multiple timelines that you have created and that you are accessing. Let us explain. The universal time grid in itself, if we were to give you an analogy of what that might look like, if you were to picture it as a diagram, we would give you the veins or the arteries of the body. And there are main arteries that are the impetus for your sustenance as a human being. And there are veins that split off from these arteries that are smaller timelines or smaller parts of the entire whole. The universal time grid is very similar. There are main arteries of this timeline that are the energetics of your dimensional consciousness. Think of that as the one consciousness you hold as a human race. So as a human race, you have held a third dimensionally based consciousness. That third dimensionally based consciousness is one of the arteries of the universal time grid. But within that third dimensionally based consciousness as human beings and souls, you have created timelines. And those timelines are the veins that split off from this artery and go in many other directions. They can connect to other dimensional realities and other main arteries through your intention and your will and your acceptance of the ascension time grid. Let us go back for a moment and talk about your structure and how your physical basis holds within it the connection to this universal grid. You have within your physical structure an energetic code. And that energetic code is specific to you, but is triggered in a very similar way within the human consciousness by universal energies and by planetary energies. So to make this quite clear, each individual soul holds an ascension code, and that ascension code is both singular in nature and collective in nature, meaning it has the impetus by which you hold your assignment, and it has the impetus by which the collective is being accessed and raised to a new frequency through ascension. This is what we want to get into today regarding awareness and the ascension codes and the ascension timeline and how it all works together. Many of you have been taught or have come to realize that manifestation is up to you. As a physical being, you are able to create your reality in any direction you wish to head. And we have agreed with that statement in theory, meaning that if you had complete connection with Source, and if you were paying close attention to your main base frequency, you could fall in line with the harmonics of this code in such a way that you would manifest your reality in relationship to your assignment. Where this has gotten skewed is that human beings have put manifestation in a definition of self-fulfillment. And that self-fulfillment has been imprinted or based in the third reality. Let us explain. Manifestation in itself on your planet is a third dimensional construct of your reality. We have often talked about how in this time on the planet, third dimensional constructs of reality have to be purged. They have to be modified and grown with a new frequency. The way that you manifest here is beginning to now change. The basis for this is not only your individual structure and the way that you choose to manifest, but it also falls in line with this universal energy grid, the ascension timeline, and your Mother Gaia planet. So as we put these three aspects together for you, you will understand that you will begin to hold a new code and a new process for manifesting your purpose or mission as it relates to fulfillment of who you are. As human beings have wished to manifest for materially based things or ideas within their reality, they have placed an imprint on this manifestation. Let us give an example. Oftentimes, human beings believe that they can use the mental body to manifest something of physical form. And perhaps that manifestation or that object of manifestation is a brand new car. And in the mind, you are envisioning that brand new car. You're envisioning the color of that brand new car. You wish to feel as if you already own that brand new car, and you are modifying your frequency in such a way that you resonate with the attraction of that brand new car. But the brand new car has not come. And when the brand new car has not come, you have created density in this very interaction with energy. There has been an imprint of lack. There has been an imprint of lower vibrational definition of the self. In other words, what did I do wrong? That I did not manifest this car? And we also must consider now, my friends, that as we are walking into a fifth dimensional consciousness, that our manifestation is going to be based around the highest good of the collective. So was this object of your manifestation within the highest good of you or the collective? If it was not, that was probably why it was not manifested. What we have explained oftentimes is that if you knew that you held the frequency to manifest in line with Source, you could receive the abundance that was connected magnetically to your field through your connection of energy. So, those who may have manifested the car didn't manifest it because they placed any type of vibration from the mental body on that idea. It was because they held within the emotional body a higher frequency, and that higher frequency connected things that brought them more joy. Joy was the basis for the manifestation. Nothing egoic and nothing third dimensional. This is the difference. So we're asking all of you now to consider, where in the past have you not manifested things that may have been in line with third dimensionally based ideas? And where have you manifested things that have been joyful, that have been connected to higher frequency? This has been the recipe or the pattern. Now, The patterns here are beginning to change because the very code that you hold is triggered in the succinct order of many alignments. Those alignments are a part of your record here, and they are universally based alignments that are assisting your planetary being to undergo a transition. The basis for this transition is to raise the human consciousness to a new dimensional level. And that dimensional level is one of holding the fifth dimension here. So this artery that we speak of, that was third dimensionally based, now becomes a fifth dimensionally based artery, by which many timelines split off of creation that are higher in frequency. The fifth dimensional consciousness in itself cannot hold or accept a third dimensionally based process of manifestation. So we've talked about you as an individual having to identify with your multidimensional timelines and purge density related to those. Think of manifestation on the planet as being a part of Mother Gaia's third dimensionally based karma. The process by which that took place can no longer exist. So as human beings, you are beginning to step into a new form of this through the very code that you hold and the very DNA genetic that's been triggered by you. This is collectively based. So you may think, how am I to manifest this beautiful blue car that I wish in the fifth dimension? Well, what we will tell you is that beautiful blue car must have a collective basis. The frequency of joy or the higher frequency of love is always a consideration in any dimensional consciousness. But where you are headed is one of highest good for all. The way that you manifest and receive abundance in line with that is by accessing your assignment as it is transitioning through this frequency adjustment. We want to talk about that for a moment, and then we will bring it back to the manifestation process and how you can begin to practice that as human beings. The code that we talked about, the one that holds within it the basis for ascension, has been triggered in you, and now it is awaiting the balance of frequency by Mother Gaia's transition, and that is what you are headed into in the coming months. Mother Gaia is herself holding this new frequency and adjusting to it. This DNA genetic code that we speak of holds the basis by which your missions and your assignments are now revealed to you in a new way. It is seeing beyond the third dimensionally based timelines and seeing above to the fifth dimensionally based ideas of how you are here to assist the planet. As the human consciousness has accepted these frequencies and continues to accept these frequencies, you must understand that within the core of Mother Earth, there is a lower vibrational consciousness that still exists. And let us talk about that for a moment, because we don't want to place any of you in a state of fear or lower vibration. Many of you are aware of this lower vibrational consciousness and how it is creating through your energy and how it has created many imprints here in the third dimension. That lower vibrational consciousness, which we would call reptilian in nature, still exists within the core of Mother Earth. They are going to struggle as well, and we will call them they for the purposes of this communication. Because as Mother Earth raises her frequency, and they are not going to resonate at this higher frequency with her or be able to balance to that frequency. They are going to need to use physical form in order to gather the attention of the human consciousness back to the third dimension. The goal of this lower vibrational consciousness is to keep third dimensional energies consistent on your planetary being. The reason for this is the density by which they are creating through. This density is created through your awareness. So if there is a physical aspect on your planetary being, and let us say that physical aspect of reality is something lower vibrational, such as a war, and the human consciousness through your media, through your school systems, through your institutions, through your religions, are teaching to place awareness on this lower vibrational action. It is keeping a large volume of the human consciousness within a lower density through that very attention to that physical reality. This is where this lower vibrational consciousness wishes for you to remain. As such, they will continue to try to keep manifestation on your planet in this form as well. What would be the reason for that, my friends? It is back to awareness. Because when you are focused in awareness on third dimensionally based things, you are holding density. So the goal here is to allow the human consciousness to step outside of where they are placing awareness on third dimensionally based imprints and move into an awareness of their collective mission here as a one consciousness. As you are navigating this timeline, many of you will be in a holding pattern with your missions and with abundance. And we don't, again, wish to put you in a place of fear. This holding pattern is only temporary, and we would say would last between 6 months to a year, depending on your frequency and your level of transition and the rate of speed by which you are transitioning. But you have to understand that manifestation for you now comes in the form of 3 points. The way your soul is integrating these energies, your connection to the universal time grid, and your connection to the new frequency of Mother Earth. This creates the unison or the oneness by which you can access your mission and receive abundance. So you have to take all points into consideration. Those who place their awareness in this way and understand that they must allow their mission to undergo this transition, they must allow the frequencies of Mother Earth to begin to support them in this way, will better be able to comfortably navigate this transition ahead of us. The human consciousness that we will call light workers, we want to talk about specifically. And there are many bands of light workers here on the planet, and we would say many who are coming to pay attention to this transition or communication are ones that are in the second wave of light work. There are some that came before you who were the impetus for awakening. Those that are coming now or who are coded to this timeline in particular are here to assist the human consciousness in relieving the accumulated density of third dimension and here to assist them in stepping into this new form of manifestation. Of course, this all manifests for you in very unique ways, we would say, and we are pleased that it does, as there are many who are very supportive of you individually as you create through your energy. We are happy to take questions, but first we want to talk about this new form of manifestation that you can practice. We've always advised you to pay close attention to the emotional body, and we would continue to say that that is of importance because it is through the emotional body by which you can gauge the rate of speed that you are vibrating. But magnetics here are getting ready to change. The magnetic fields of potential on this planetary being are raising in such a way that manifestation can become very instantaneous. Many of you are able to step into the 0 point field of manifestation in a very easy way through this new frequency that Mother Earth will hold and through the integration you just went through. So practicing the access of the 0 point field or the connection with source is going to be a good practice for the light workers who are connected to this energy to move forward and access parts of their mission and their assignment in a new way. You are all coded to do this work. This work is supported by the frequency of Mother Earth and by universal energies. The grid itself is now pulling you in the direction of the fifth. And as you are pulled in that direction, you will begin to receive the pieces of the puzzle that you need in order for this mission to now focus itself in a collective way. Until that time is complete and that transition is walked, we would say not putting too much focus in the mental body and not trying to manifest things that are created to assist egoic structure or third dimensionally based wants or needs is important to pay attention to. Staying neutral with energy and staying balanced with energy is going to be the most important. Your physical bodies are accepting a new frequency, and in accepting that new frequency, the very physical basis of who you are is changing. We cannot stress this enough. Your cellular structure to the core is now assimilating a new crystalline design. And in that design holds the patterns by which you will begin to access this new reality. And as such, you must continue to understand that the physical body is going to be purging the density it needs to catch up with this new modification of structure. Some of you may experience family members or friends who are physically challenged during this integration. And as they are physically challenged, you will know that the density that they are purging is great in weight. And they are in need of understanding and time to integrate these energies in a more expanded way. Those of you who are light workers who we are pleased to work through, we are going to give a very brief process before we take questions. And the Lemurian consciousness steps in to assist us in this time and is very pleased. So the ninth dimensional Lemurian ascension collective is accessing an energy field now by which many of you are stepping into. In this field of energy, we are opening ourselves to your service as we begin this process. We ask that as you are sitting, you are straight back, palms up. And as you begin breathing, we ask you to place your awareness only on the breath. And as we engage this process, you will also be placing your awareness upon our vibration and our frequency. We are balancing you in the moment, not to Mother Earth frequencies, which are currently shifting and changing, but to a ninth dimensional access point. We have facilitated this ninth dimensional holding space for you with the Pleiadian beings that have stepped in, but there is a new space now by which we are connecting. It is one that falls into harmonic rhythm with the planetary being that we resonate from. The star systems and the cosmos that are all connected in support of this grid and this timeline we speak of. We are taking you into a space where the fifth dimensional access is granted and held. Many of you have had this fifth dimensional access granted, but it has not been held here. Many of you have ninth dimensional access that you have stepped into as dimensional beings, but that has not been held here either. As we hold that space for you now, we're coming into a realization that our soul holds within it a very specific code or a very specific mission. And through that code and through that mission, we know we are connected to a very specific consciousness. We accepted through collective transition a collective-based mission that goes beyond this planetary space. It goes into many other timelines and realities. As you are connected now, we are asking you to place your awareness in this fifth dimensional timeline. As you are in a 0-point field, you have the ability to create whatever reality you wish to see here. This is a practice that you can do anytime, in any space, and that will assist Mother Being through the transition she is about to undergo. With the new frequency that you hold, we ask you to think of one change, one new reality that you envision here, that you wish to accept, that you wish to bring to fruition, not just for the benefit of you, but for the benefit of all. This is something that would be human-driven, of human benefit. But the key, my friend, is that it also brings you personal fulfillment or personal joy. Your unique creative energy is a part of this creation. It always is. But how we manifest now aligns with the energetic time grid of universal nature and aligns with Mother Gaia and her new frequency. Whatever comes to mind, you're going to allow, not judge, not criticize. And as you bring that creation in and that idea in, you're placing an imprint on that energy in that moment. Because it is highly connective to your soul and brings you fulfillment and joy, and because it is collectively based in the highest good, you are able to shift the energy of the planet in its very access. As you are continuing to understand that this idea or this creation of energy in this moment is placed in the universal time grid, it also benefits all races through the expansion of that idea. The very idea that you are coming up with right now is created and exists in the universal reality on some timeline and in some dimension. And we ask you to be at peace with that understanding. As we are silent for a few moments, we are going to give you the space to access this memory or this creation. As we are all holding hands with you now, we have been pleased to engage this expansion of energy together. This is the purpose of the fifth dimension. This is how the human consciousness begins to manifest a new reality. And you can practice that right now. And we have been very pleased.
We have some questions from the audience.
Yes.
Is it true that September 2015 is the end of the first wave of ascension and that we are now entering the second wave of 3? And if this is true, what will be the main focus of this second wave?
We would agree that there have been timelines that have been connected of ascension to various dates on your planetary being. And there is a process by which you are undergoing phases of this ascension timeline. It is very unique to the human consciousness, and we want to make all of you aware that it is not just unique here. It is unique in all dimensions. So as you are undergoing ascension, there are many other planetary beings, spaces, and realities that are also undergoing ascension to their own coded genetic makeup. Yes, this date that you speak of is significant. We would say if we are to look at this in phases or waves, there have been triggers of planetary alignments since 2012 to this date that have been focused individually within the human consciousness. When we speak of individually, we mean that there have been very specific codes within your individual structure that have been triggered by these alignments, and this has been the impetus for your awakening as a human consciousness. As we shift into a new vibrational place through that awakening, the planetary being now becomes prepared to undergo its ascension timeline. And the very codes that have been within the human consciousness that have been triggered through these alignments are similar to the codes that Mother Earth Gaia holds that are connected to these alignments. So where we have given many messages, and the guides want you to know we are speaking with the council, to clarify. The council is making you aware that there has been an impetus by which you have undergone an individually based ascension timeline, and that individually based ascension timeline has been directed at the third dimensional energies. The timeline of March we want to bring into the equation, because what we want to say about that timeline is it was a transitionary space by which you began to hold more of a fourth dimensionally based consciousness here. And when we say hold, that's the most important word we want to give you, because you have held a third dimensionally based consciousness on this planet, and you have undergone many planetary alignments that have been coded to your DNA genetic strand that have been the impetus for your awakening. Through that awakening as a human consciousness, you have purged density, you have purged karma, and the alignment in March was significant in you being able to hold a fourth dimensional consciousness here, which is a very transitional space we want to talk about. In that transitional space, there is a dominant energy by which you are able to receive multidimensional information and access that information, and we have also talked about this in past communications. This is why the alignment in March was so important, because as you held this fourth dimensional space or consciousness, these multidimensional aspects of self were better integrated by you through this alignment. This, again, is the impetus for the new triggering of codes that is directed at the planet. So to clarify, this date you speak of is the engagement of the alignments that are triggering the codes within Mother Earth. It is not to say it does not have an effect on the human consciousness because you are connected to her. So you are coded in such a way, and let us bring back the equation of the soul, the universal time grid, and Mother Gaia. The codes that you have within your human structure relate both to the universal energies and to her. You have individual codes as well that allow you to understand your mission and your assignment and allow you to connect multidimensionally to timelines. But the code in which Mother Earth is being triggered is very important, because this code in itself is the beginning of the access of the fifth dimensional energies and the holding of those fifth dimensional energies, because those energies, or that consciousness, is based on oneness, and that is the key. So as you are holding a fourth dimensional consciousness, you have still not reassembled as the one of higher frequency that would be able to hold a fifth dimension. But the reason, or the impetus for holding that fifth dimension, is the frequency of the planet must raise and change to meet it. In other words, could you hold a fifth dimensional consciousness here if Mother Earth Gaia did not go through this transition and her very harmonic resonant frequency shift and change to a higher vibration? We would say no, because her being is the oneness by which you connect through. So the next series of alignments are engaged to assist that harmonic frequency and that raise in consciousness in order to allow the human beings here to hold a new dimensional reality.
Can you talk a little more detail about what are dimensions and how do we fit into them on a soul level?
We are pleased. There are dimensional realities of consciousness that exist within the universe, and we must first explain the basis of creation in order to explain dimensional realities. We spoke earlier in this transmission about how you came into being, how energy was the impetus for who you are and continues to be who you are as a soul, even though you are physical in this incarnation. Your cellular structure in itself is the basis by which expansion of energies is undergone. So think of yourself as a cellular being, and think of yourself as the beginning of that cellular being, and perhaps it was an atomic particle or a cellular basis by which you grew and expanded from. But every human being and the very basis of your Mother Earth Gaia being coming into reality was this cellular structure, was this atomic particle, was this energy that we speak of. Energies hold an imprint. So every energy, every cell, every particle on the planet holds an imprint by which is the dominant connection of its reality. We talked a little bit about the universal time grid and how that is connecting all of us. You are connected to all of it as well. And the imprint that you hold is the basis for the dimensional reality you connect with. Let us explain. Because there is a two-way street to accessing dimension. There is a collective basis and there is an individual basis. So, you as an individual being, you hold within your cellular structure an imprint of energy from millenniums of existence, and those imprints of energy culminate in who you are. We've talked a lot about density here and how energies can be dense, and we need to purge that density. This is a part of that understanding. So as you have done work on yourself, as you have gone through the ascension process, you have become intimately aware of imprinted energy and how you carry that. Because it is the basis by which you connect to dimension and whole dimension. Many of you may hold a 7th or a 9th dimensional access code. And that code is based on, or the availability of that code is based on the imprints of energy that you hold. So if you have purged karma, if you have ascended, if you have provided yourself access to source and aligned with that source in such a way that it is allowing you the harmonic balance to access those codes, they are always available to you, but they are very unique to your structure. Think of the number of cells in your physical body and how each of those cells could work together as one to hold a higher dimensional access. Now, that higher dimensional access, although it is always available to you, is not always held in congruent fashion. The reason for that is your collective nature. And we know that human beings have been very focused in the singular as they have been physical. But the collective basis of your frequency and of your structure is the impetus by which you hold dimension. So we've talked much about the human consciousness holding a third dimension. That is because the imprint of the collective energy has been third dimensionally based. There is always a weight here. There is always a balance to consider. So there may be times as an individual being that you are traveling in the light body to ninth dimensional information and accessing that information and those codes and using it in your mission and in your reality to create through your energy. But the reason you can't hold that space is that you are a human being here. You signed up to be a human being here, and you resonate in this consciousness. This consciousness is connected to Mother Gaia and her being holds the basis for the dimensional reality through this imprint of one. We've often talked about the human consciousness healing its one connection, and we want to explain this as a part of this communication because there has been some confusion. You have always been one. You've always resonated as one. You were built that way. You were structured that way. But your attention goes to the singular. Your attention is what accumulates density. Your attention is what keeps you in a dimensional reality. So as you have accepted this physical incarnation, you knew that your light body was going to have to give up some of its access in a consistent way in order to resonate here. It brought you much joy to know that you would be a part of this transition on the earth in this very time. But in order to do that, you knew that the collective consciousness was going to have to hold a denser reality than what you perhaps had incarnated from. Now, you are always resonating as a one consciousness. It's just that your awareness is not put in a highly beneficial way to function in that consciousness. And that is why we brought up the definition earlier of Mother being in the core of her earth being manipulated or inhabited by reptilian or lower vibrational frequency beings. Because all inhabitants here on the planetary space have weight, have imprints, and are able to connect through your energy to gain that access to dimensional reality. So this is a part of why your human consciousness is undergoing the transition it is right now. As you move into this fifth dimensional consciousness and hold it, this lower vibrational reptilian consciousness on the planet can no longer access your energy field. It is not available to them because they are operating in a density that does not allow. We know that the question did not involve the definition of density, but we do want to give it here because it is very important. And we talked about energetic imprints. Energetic imprints are the weight by which you carry density. Okay? You are always creating density through your acceptance of an energetic imprint. What is an energetic imprint? Let's discuss that. Your society or your collective consciousness has, in essence, developed structures or modes by which this attention is taken by you to bring in imprinted energy of dense nature. One example of that would be your religions. Many of your, we wouldn't say all, but many of your religions on the planet are based in ideals of lower frequency. Shame and guilt, let us say, as an example. As your attention goes to this teaching, you are imprinting your cellular structure with that density. And that density is causing you to not be able to resonate at the dimensional reality or hold the dimensional reality as a one consciousness that you wish to hold. That's why in this transition, we would say many of you are purging this density at an accelerated pace because you know you're here to serve. You know you are here as a light worker to assist. And in order to do that, you need to step into your collective missions in a new way. So it's all about imprinted energy. It's all about density. It's all about accepting that third dimensionally based density into your awareness and then into your consciousness as a singular being and as a collective.
What is the frequency of the universal grid in order to allow for better alignment and easy flow?
There is no dominant frequency of the universal grid we wish to explain because, in essence, this is a connective structure which is informational. You hold frequency, we hold frequency, every collective on the universal time grid holds frequency, but the grid itself does not hold a dominant frequency. Think of it as the very connections by which we exchange information and the very connections by which we expand as a universal consciousness. It is the impetus by which the ascension timeline is being connective from your planetary being and the human consciousness to other dimensional realities. It is also the impetus of creation. There is a better way we would like to explain this, and that would be understandable by the human consciousness as timelines. We know that timelines are created by ourselves, but they do not necessarily hold a dominant frequency. We are accessing a timeline right now in this room. And in this room, there are a variety of different weights of dimensional reality and a variety of different densities held by these individuals in this room. We come into a collective energy and we can have a collectively balanced frequency, but the grid itself does not hold the frequency, it holds the connection. But we would like to answer your question about balancing to frequency and how this can be better achieved. And we want to begin by saying that as we have brought forward, the very base frequency of Mother Earth Gaia is gradually shifting and changing in the coming 2 years. And through that integration, it will be more difficult for human beings to keep up to speed with this balance than it has previously. Because in essence, you've learned to harmonize and balance to her frequency. And at times, you were taken offline by this lower vibrational consciousness we speak of through frequency modifications. And now there is a new beautiful frequency to accept. And your cellular structure that we've spoken of needs to adjust itself to this new harmonic resonance. As you go through this integration, know that there are going to be times when you are, as a light body, not wishing to be connected to the earth frequency because it is going to feel very unnatural to you as one that resonates with a higher consciousness. And you may say, well, if the frequency of Mother Earth Gaia is raising, why would this feel unnatural or difficult? Because it is fluid and it is not consistent. And human beings like consistency. Human beings like predictability, and human beings do not enjoy change or the unknown. And in this alignment in particular, in this planetary upgrade, there is going to be varying levels of frequency that are going to have to be undergone in order to hold a new consistent harmonic resonance here. And so that is why we say that the very physical basis of your structure may undergo difficult aspects of this transition. What you can do is bring in natural frequencies to your field in a variety of different forms to assist you during this time. And we're going to make this very physical because it is important during this time that you understand there is an integration going on, and although you are accessing the higher realms, you must also stay grounded to her in order to fulfill your mission and be a part of that new frequency, to embody it. It is important that you embody this new frequency. The natural means we speak of can come in a variety of forms that are very unique to you, but we would say sound in particular would resonate with some that are receiving this communication. The reason for this is you hold higher dimensional realities, you are ascended beings, you are light beings, and you are understanding that the frequency of sound can be used to bring you into balance. The sound that you are choosing would be very particular to what resonates with your field of energy. We would also say paying close attention to how you are bringing in natural sources of light, natural sources of water, and natural sources of sustenance into your being. Nothing artificial. So what they give me as a channel, and I want to step in and say this right off the bat, I got supplements. A lot of times human beings, they want to say, rely on manufactured forms of sustenance for the physical body. So the physical body goes into a state of disharmony, and we look to artificial forms of, supplements and things that are processed. But we have to pay attention to the fact that those are still not equivalent to nature. Nature's going to be really important because we said you need to stay grounded, and the light body sometimes isn't going to feel like it wants to stay grounded to this very fluid and unsure frequency. So bringing in nature is going to help that grounding, right? You're all accessing the chakras above the crown. These are beginning to engage for you. All of you that are listening to this transmission are receiving some type of opening in those chakra fields. Those are multidimensional, you need to know. Those multidimensional connections are pulling you. They're pulling you into higher frequencies and higher dimensions, but yet you forget that it's very important that we stay grounded here. And that grounding comes when the frequency of Mother Earth herself is not creating stability. So the stability comes from you in the form of nature brought in, right? And that's what the guides most want you to know.
Besides the law of attraction, what other universal laws do we need to know to be healthier and raise ourselves to a higher vibration?
Yes, the laws of nature, and there are many, we would say, throughout the universal dimensional plane, and they are very specific to the beings that are accessing these laws, and the human consciousness has many that they have brought into their awareness through many channels, we would say, as well as many historians over time. There is one law in particular we want to focus on today, which is the most important for your awareness through the coming integration, and that is the law of one. The law of one is the basis by which we explain this universal time grid. The law of one is the connection of all beings as one. Many of you are aware of sacred geometry and the mandala and sacred structures and physical form and how they connect us to our history, and they are a part of who we are, and they show up for us as mirroring our own image. This is where we want you to focus your attention, because it's all about the universal time grid and its integrity through this one connection. It is the impetus by which all planetary beings ascend. The law of one goes beyond just the connection of the human race, and we've often talked about the heart chakra being very integral in this connection on your planet. The heart chakra is the harmonic balance regulator, we should say, and how you connect with other human beings on the planet and your entire consciousness. And that heart chakra in itself was just triggered in the most recent alignment that we have spoken of. And that heart chakra is now accepting or getting ready to accept a brand new frequency. This is the basis for the law of one. The law of one is about manifestation. And you may say, well, the law of attraction is about manifestation. We would say the law of attraction is the magnetic force by which you have been connecting your multidimensional realities to yourself. The law of one is a dimensional reality by which those multidimensional expressions of self hold meaning. It's the law by which you connect all of it to not only yourself but others. In order to practice this and prepare for this in the fifth dimension, we would say the most important thing that light workers can do is continue to clear karma and to continue to clear density that's connected to third dimensionally based ideas, because the law of one does not exist in third dimensional density. The law of one is only connected to higher rates of speed and to the understanding of the off-planet aspects of your reality. The off-planet aspects of your reality are a part of who you are. They come in support, yes, and many human beings in this time wish for the human consciousness to be saved, right? They wish for the outer beings of dimensional reality to come to the planet and change what needs to be changed here. But in essence, these beings are already a part of your planet. They already are here. They have been here. It's just that your awareness has been focused on another timeline. When the law of one is engaged in the fifth dimension, it means that you are recognizing your universal nature. You are accessing universal information, and you are understanding that the information is you. You are it. You are those beings. You are all of it. And that is the most important law we would like to speak about in this time.
Why does it take a while for some individuals to discover and tap into their past lives?
This has been changing on your planet as the frequency has changed. So we want to talk about past lives and their meaning. your singular attention to your physical nature has defined past lives in a very narrow way, meaning it is something that has actually happened in a linear timeline that was before you incarnated here. And we want to clarify now, because you've accepted a new frequency and you have brought this multidimensional access to the surface. These timelines that you have classified as being past are actually happening in the same moment as you are focused in this timeline. We understand that is a difficult concept for human beings to understand, but your soul expresses itself on a variety of timelines simultaneously. These timelines are created by you and they connect to the universal time grid. So in this understanding, we want to bring in a new concept, and that is that you create the timelines that your soul is connected to, but you also connect to timelines created by other souls that are bringing your energy in for a purpose. Remember how we discussed the universal time grid as the arteries and the veins. And those veins connect to other arteries and other veins and form T's and squares and triangles. Well, those who are creative energy in human form here have had the ability through their soul to magnetically attract information through this grid. This information has been magnetically attracted in line with the density that you held, but this is beginning to change. So your soul can be called to a timeline that you must assist on that is not recognizable by your oversoul, but is recognizable by another soul for their very integration and assistance in their ascension process. So you have past lives, you have present lives, you have future lives, but they're all really the same, and they are all really one. So the law of one comes in here. You are one with universal consciousness. You are one with connection to all of it. We want to explain, though, when you are accessing past life information, the reason it feels past to you. That is because your awareness is focused in this current timeline. So as you have defined time, and it holds an imprint or meaning for you in your cellular structure, when you access past life information, you are placing that information in a synchronistic order as was given to you in order to categorize. We would say that all human beings have the structure and the basis to connect with this type of information. Not all are, and the reason for that is the amount of density or karma that you hold, but also it is the level of frequency that you have access to. Let us explain, because many of you have come to the realization that you're now holding a fourth dimensional reality here as a one consciousness. In that fourth dimensional reality, is there access to these timelines? We would say yes. But the structure by which you organize them is still holding on to the dense energies here on the planet. That's why in this last integration, many brought up multidimensional aspects of themselves, but it came in physical form. Let's explain this. You brought up timelines to heal through your association or awareness of the timeline that you are on. So let's use the example of a relationship. There was a relationship in this last integration that came up for you and was very painful or argumentative or connected to some type of understanding within the self that you needed to clear. And you felt as if this relationship was on this timeline and applicable to this timeline. But we want you to realize that that relationship shows up as imprinted energy that you're creating. So you had a choice to bring that experience from your past, present, or future into your current reality to heal it in this last integration. And you chose the relationship that showed up for you as a soul contract or a soul connection. And that soul connection was that relationship, which was the impetus for all of that third dimensionally based heavy energy and density that you needed to purge. So as you pay closer attention to healing that physical experience or those physical experiences that are showing up for you. You're lightening the body, and it is allowing you more access to this type of information. So we want you to realize that those of you who are not accessing past lives in light body travel or in the mind's eye are still accessing that energy. It's just showing up for you in very physically based density.
Which consciousness are we speaking with right now?
The Council of Light.
Is this the highest consciousness that we have available to us today?
Yes.
Could you tell us, is there such a thing as a Planet X?
Planet X has been named this, but we would not call it Planet X. There is one that is a newly formed planetary being that is a mirror magnetic aspect of this energy. So the planetary X that you are speaking of in itself holds a vibrational consciousness that is moving into a 13th dimensional space. That 13th dimensional space is being created through the universal time grid and through the ascension of all races. We say that it is in mirror aspect, and we want to explain that there is a yin and yang here and a light and dark, and there has been some dimensional density and karmic density that's been held on that planetary space. And as that density is being purged, there is a magnetic creation of a likeness of this planetary being. And the reason for that is that the beings in this energy are ones that are not connected with the council. The beings in this energy are hybrid beings. They are ones who have ascended through a dimensional timeline of higher vibration. However, the way we have communicated the splitting of the timelines on the planet Earth, there have been many splitting of timelines in many dimensional realities and in many races. And this race or consciousness in particular is the result of one of these timeline splittings, by which there was a lower vibrational consciousness that wished to be lighter in the body and underwent, I want to say that what they show me is this planet that you speak of is actually encapsulated. It was not able to connect to the universal time grid because of its potential to damage the ascension timeline. And as it was quarantined or placed outside of that structure, it underwent through its own intention, the ability to ascend and now reconnect. And that's what's going on. They cannot reconnect this planet to the universal time grid in this time because it is not finished the process. But that's why a mirror image or likeness of this planet is magnetizing within the universe in order to, again, there'll be a splitting there of, these higher 13th dimensional beings and other beings that will come to inhabit it. And there will be ones that will be left behind. But the reason we say they're 13th dimensional is these beings actually held a higher dimensional consciousness of ninth nature, but then they want to say they kind of accepted or stayed in the 8th dimension. The same thing that's going on our planet with the 3rd and the 5th went on with the 8th and the 9th, right? And so it was very materially held in the 8th, which it doesn't mean that the density there is the same. When we say material, what we say is the 8th dimension is just a very unstable place for beings to hold as a consciousness. And that's what happened there. And so there was potential for the ascension timeline to go in the wrong direction. But some of the beings will remain on that planetary space and they will still be quarantined from the grid. And others will be transitioning to this new mirror likeness of this planet and will receive a new timeline or will actually create a new timeline. And the reason we say it's the basis for the 13th dimension is that there are many who from the council are supporting this ascension. This planetary space, I think, was held in an energy by which many beings were of assistance. And there was a free will choice by some on this planet to want to access this dimension. And it's being created now. You know, the council wants you to know that we're always creating new realities. We're always creating new dimensions that are accessible. And this 13th dimensional space is one that's being created in conjunction with the council. It's being overseen by the council so that there will be higher vibrational beings that will embody that space.
Is there any connection between the Planet X and the ancient stories, the Anunnaki Planet X?
Yes, they would say yes. But those stories are not always correct, as many of them have been skewed through time. But yes, we would agree with that.
Is there any effect that this planet's existence will have on our timeline?
No, the council is ensuring to the consciousness that is watching this transmission that planetary space has been placed in a quarantine, and that quarantine is taken very seriously, meaning there is an energetic field around that planetary space by which the universal grid cannot be manipulated. And this was actually the collective effort, not only of the council, but of many other dimensional races, in seeing that this was a potential timeline that could be skewed and could be detrimental to many races. But they want you to know that just because there's a quarantine does not mean that the energies aren't created. Universal time and energy and space is all connective regardless of the grid. The grid just holds the codes by which we ascend and create new dimensional realities. It's not, so that energy is still imprinted. It still goes out into the expansion of the universe. So I don't feel as if the direct, it wouldn't affect the human consciousness is what they want you to know. The human consciousness wouldn't directly be affected by this planetary space, but there are other dimensional realities who have been cautious in assisting the transformation of this energy that could be changed or manipulated.
Mary Magdalene, please. Mary?
Yes.
How do we remove past hurts and fears from harming new relationships, and how can we be in a relationship with someone who is not on our consciousness level?
What are her loving angelic friends who are all present? This is what she wants you to know, is there are many angelic presence that have stepped in for this message and that are all assimilating energies in the room. Many of those who have experienced these types of relationships are receiving a healing from this integration and from this connection. As you have connected with other souls through your human experience here, there have been energetic aspects of those experiences, and there have been physical aspects of those experiences. And we want you to now pay attention to both of these areas and the difference and how you will begin to assimilate this as you move into a fifth dimensional consciousness. The souls that you have attracted have been purposeful. There has been no mistake. There has been no wrong decision. You have magnetized these souls to your frequency and to your field in order to receive information. Many human beings in the past have looked at these situations as learning experiences. We would call them more of information exchanges and areas in which your soul needed to receive more information or clear density or resistance in order to move forward on your path and journey. So an example of this would be a soul that showed up for you to force you to begin to love yourself more, or a soul that showed up for you to allow yourself the ability to access a new way of working with your mission or your purpose. There's always a reason and there is no mistake. But in the physical framework, we have connected to suffering in these soul connections. And we have taken that suffering on as a part of our reality. And through that suffering, we have imprinted energy and we have accepted density. And it has held us back from accessing a new frequency by which to clear and walk forward with our mission and our path. The energetic aspects of these connections have been healing for us. And that is what we most want you to know. You're always healing yourself through other people. And you are always healing the consciousness through these connections. And many of you in the mind are thinking, how could I have possibly healed myself through this relationship that was so stressful and hurtful and painful? We would say, there's always a gift in every of these connections. There is always a reason by which they have been magnetized to your field. There has been a new integrative space that you have entered here on the planet. We've called it fourth dimension, and you have undergone much change in order to get to this space. You can no longer use third dimensionally based reactions or actions to heal and resolve karma. So let us give some examples. If you have a relationship and that relationship was causing you pain and it came up as a multidimensional expression of self, as we mentioned earlier, and you chose to walk away, or you chose to slam the door, think back to that interaction. And in your mind now, connect it and understand that it was a third dimensionally based way of resolving that energy. If this was the action or the reaction that was taken, there's still healing work that must be done. Because we can no longer heal ourselves with the density of the third dimension. We have to understand the new oneness that we embody, the new frequency that we embody, and that relationship needs to be revisited. If it is not revisited by you from a higher standpoint of energy, it will show up for you again in your field of reality because it's still magnetized to who you are. You're still holding the imprint of that relationship. That is why often human beings have wondered why the same relationship shows up for them again and again and again in a different form. It's not that you attracted that different person. It's that you hold that imprint of energy, and that imprint of energy has to manifest in the universe as your reality. Your soul is calling you to heal it now and bring it to higher form. Any relationships that are still unresolved, or any souls that are still attracted to you that are causing you lower vibrational experiences, meaning you're holding a frequency in the emotional body that is stressful, that is hurtful, that is making you feel less than, or is making you feel angry. It's calling your attention to density. It's calling your attention to third dimensional actions and reactions, and causing you to, or allowing you the opportunity to step into fifth dimensionally based energies. And that is the only way that you can begin to heal these.
Could you conclude the session for today, please?
Yes, we have been very pleased to facilitate this energy today. As many are accessing your energy body in the room, we are clearing much of this karma and density for you so that you can walk out and feel lighter and access your true nature and your path and mission in this time, and as it has been given to you in collective form. Understand that you are always able to access these energies anytime you wish, and that we are in full support. Many blessings.